This is such a great chapter that teaches an excellent life lesson on not living your life for someone else out of guilt or shame, but living it for yourself.
One Piece, chapter 437, Naked Mania. Ooh, that's cold. It hurt just looking at it. Ooh. Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome and excellently woven and sometimes a little painful to read and look at tale of One Piece.
Now, our last chapter saw us with really kind of being a silly chapter. It was the unveiling of the Straw Hats' new ship, and then, of course, them trying to get Franky to join the crew. They kind of played keep away with his trunks, his Speedos, all around town. The Franky family did, eventually kind of ensuing over into and spilling over into the Straw Hats participating in. And pretty much the chapter ended off with, with again, Franky being very close to the ship, but pretty much saying, listen, I'm not going with you. So that's how things left off, and that's right where things pick up. And man, this chapter, I tell you, it's like, it's like one part a little bit silly, and two parts, like, just as a guy anyway, just makes you go, oh, just cringe, right? I have kids, okay, and I have been kicked in the nuts inadvertently many, many times, even back when I was in Taekwondo and everything else. Even though you're not supposed to hit anybody in there, sometimes somebody would go to throw a kick, and you'd go to dodge, and a foot would graze your testicles, and those are the ones that really hurt for me. I would rather just straight up just get, like, punched, in the nuts, rather than just have the sort of that light, like, scrape by, because boy, I tell you, that just, any manipulation whatsoever, though, of that area for a guy is excruciating pain. It's every fiber of your being, is just being ripped and tugged and pulled at, man. Oh my god. Anyway, the chapter starts out, Franky still is bottomless, right? And it's great because Luffy's like, he's like, come on, I'll give you your trunks back as soon as you join my crew. He's like, you think I need my trunks for you? And he starts going and striking a pose and dancing. And he's like, oh, man was born to be free. And he's dancing, and there's a cleverly put little, like, kind of like whited out, almost like a star over his junk. But obviously he's dancing around bottomless to everybody else, So then Luffy's just like, oh my god, I didn't anticipate this. His will is too strong. So then Robin, right? Now she's cool. She's really part of the crew now. She's getting in on jokes, practical jokes, pranks, everything, ever since she's been saved, obviously. And she says, well, I can lend a hand if you want, right? And she goes, dos flor. And two arms appear, and you see Franky from behind, right? So you can see his little butt cheeks. But you see from behind the two arms sprouted out of his legs, right? She goes and grabs his nuts and starts yanking on him or clutching on him. I don't know if she's got the nuts in one hand and she's got the ding-a-ling in the other. She's pulling... I don't know. Alls I know is that there is some testicle manipulation going on over here, and the shit is not cool, because I was reading this, and I was going, it's one of those things where all of a sudden you're just like, and oh my god. So anyway, and there's even a picture of that here. Oda drew a good, look at this. He drew a good, look at Franky. And that's what it looks like when you tug on a man's junk, on his twig and berries, So, oh boy, I tell you, on the old cheese log and nuts. But anyway, so that's how things go on for a few pages. She's kind of twisting and pulling his nuts, and everybody's like, oh my god, the humanity! And Chopper's like, no, no! And Mozo and Kira are like, they're gonna break off! They're like tangerines! So I would just assume that she just started yanking his nuts around, right? Anyway, what winds up happening, though, after that, is that Franky just kind of falls to the ground, and we assume that she lets him go for the time being. He's like, listen, I really like you guys, I want to join you, but my dream is something else. I have to stay here. And Iceberg steps in and says, no, that's bullshit, bro. That's bullshit, okay? Let's face facts. You're a shipwright. You love building ships, okay? But here's the situation, right? You went, and everything that you did out of guilt, because you feel that you disgraced Tom's legacy, Tom's name, Tom's trust. Even though he forgave you, right, you've never forgiven yourself. And that's really the kind of theme of this chapter, is being able to forgive yourself and move on. Because many people did. You're riddled with guilt about things and whatnot, and that is how he feels. And Iceberg brings up some good points. He says, listen, man, you decided to stay here, become this, crime boss of the underworld, take in all these kind of vagrants from the streets and make them the Franky family. all in the name of kind of like cleaning up and protecting Water 7, the town that Tom loved, right? The thing that Tom loved. Everything about every fiber of his being has really pointed to, he had such admiration and adoration for this man that ultimately he felt like it was his fault with what happened to him, so therefore he kind of took the weight of the world on his shoulders and felt that he needs to take everything in hand and whatnot. And Iceberg's telling him, no, that shit doesn't need to happen. You cannot move on with your life until you forgive yourself. And that's one of the biggest things and one of the hardest things for anybody to kind of wrap their mind around, is that many times, I know for years, I was the oldest of 6 kids, and in my family, I always felt like I was responsible. My parents had a business that I worked in for a while, and I always felt as if I was responsible for making things work well with that, because that translated into more money, more profits for the company, and therefore a better life for my younger brothers and sisters, and just my family in general, right? Being able to actually pay the bills on time, or, you know, occasionally go out to a movie, or whatever the case may be. And I always felt that was my job, right? And it wasn't. My parents' job was to take care of the kids that they decided to birth and raise. But I always took it upon myself as if I owed them some kind of allegiance, and I had this like guilt type thing. And really, it wound up holding me back from some of the things that I probably should have done immediately coming out of high school. I didn't go to college immediately. I waited a few years and then went. And then when I went, I didn't really go for what I wanted to go to. I went for what I thought could help to support me at the time, you know, things like that. So anyway, I'm just saying that I know that definitely guilt is one of those things that can eat you up and can force you to do some strange things that you do in the name of, and it really is, it's in the name of love. I mean, it's ultimately because you care for another individual and you're trying to take some of their weight, their burden off their shoulders and take it upon yourself. But at the end of the day, you still have to be able to do things that can make you happy and that are your dream, you know? And it's even like with having children, you know? Sure, you want to see everything, you want to see them be able to have all the things that maybe you didn't have and do some of the things you didn't do, and you want to put them on the right path, and you care about them so much and you love them. But at the same time, you have to find a good balance between making them the utter center and 100% focus of all of your life and not having any being of you whatsoever, and having a happy balance between being that good, caring, concerned parent, right, and a person who actually does some things that they enjoy themselves, you know, and whether it's a hobby or whether it's pushing into a career or whatever the case is. I know I'm getting a little off on a tangent here, but this is what this chapter is all about, you know, so that's what I'm looking at and looking into. For the most part, the chapter itself, a lot of it was just, you know, the goofiness and the silliness of just the whole situation, how it was being played and portrayed. But there's some very heartfelt, touching moments, too, as the Franky family comes to him, packs his bag, throws it to him, and says, listen, man, why can't we think about you? Why can't we think about your happiness, okay? He needs to leave anyway, because now with a bounty on his head, world government's going to be coming after us. That's going to endanger the Franky family, Water 7, and everything else that he stands for, that he knows. Any guilt by association type of thing, right? They know that. And this is a dude that's always laid his life on the line and always put them ahead of everybody else. So they're like, dude, go! Get out of here! Get the fuck out of here, right? So Franky, who to me, he's kind of like a bigger cyborg version of like Chopper. He's very emotional. He wears his heart on his sleeve type of thing, right? So Franky starts crying, but he uses the guise that he's getting his nuts twisted again. And he's like, oh god, the fan. They're like, no, the horror, right? Finally, after a couple of pages, I don't know, it's Luffy or somebody notices, they're like, you're not even doing anything to him, are you? And she's like, nope, they're Robin. You know, she goes, I just did it the first time, you know? He's just using this as an excuse to mask him crying and getting emotional, you know? And I think we've all been there, too. At least I know a lot of guys have, a lot of friends of mine that are male, brothers, things like that, you know? You try to go and put up that front, you know, sometimes when you do get a little bit emotional about something. I'm not like that anymore, but I used to be, so I definitely know where that school of thought came from, because I used to I used to subscribe to it. I used to preach that, you know, or be in that, I guess you would say, not preach it. But anyway, the thing is at the end of the chapter, we get Zoro and Sanji come running, and they're like, whoa, shit, red alert, everybody get on the ship, we gotta go, right? Luffy, your grandpa is coming around the island in his ship, he's coming for us, right? And I thought he was gonna leave us be, and Luffy's like, I don't know, you know, what the fuck do I know, right? Dude, he didn't even think that he should mention that, like, his grandfather is the vice admiral in the Navy, and, you know. Anyways, that's just Luffy for you, though. But so everybody's going to get on the ship and get going. Luffy tosses the trunks to Franky, and I thought it was all very ceremonious the way this went, and very, very well done. And you get Franky who of course goes and winds up catching the drawers in midair. And then in the last chapter, in the last page, he's basically like, all right, fine, I'll take care of it. Your shipwright's gonna be me, Franky. And then I love that. He's like, all right, we got a new crewmate. And everybody's all excited, you know. And then, of course, you know, there's like a sorrowful goodbye from everybody else. Big bro, you know. But they want him to go. You know, they're trying not to cry, but I just love it. And then the last panel you see is Franky's foot. And he's like, Tom, I'm going to leave this island. And really, it was just so well done. When you look at it and you just see the expression on his face, just the back and forth stuff, you felt like he was going to join. He was going to eventually break down and join the crew. But really, I just thought the chapter and the whole theme that ran through it was so solid all the way through. And again, I apologize to get off on a little bit of a tangent, but you know what? That is what I do. I try to go and bring real life, real world things that this series can mimic and can show in a positive way. And really, that's what it did for me in this chapter. Is it's saying, hey, listen, you don't want to live your life with regrets, and you certainly don't want to live your life and do the things that you do only out of guilt or shame because you feel as if you have to. You feel as if you're obligated to. And I think that's where Franky was coming from. So, you know, it's going to be a much better crew member to have, I think, now that he, number one, decided to leave of his own free will, and number two, decided to go and forgive himself, hopefully forgive himself, and be able to kind of set foot off the island and move on, and not worry about trying to fulfill Tom's dream as opposed to, you know, going and fulfilling his dreams, which is what Tom would have wanted anyway. So, chapter question for you, though, brothers and sisters, is really, what are your thoughts on a lot of what I said as far as just, you know, doing something out of respect or out of guilt, or you know, just feeling like it's your responsibility when in reality it's not. You know, maybe you want to list an example that you've had with family, friends, co-workers, or whatever, where you've done something similar to that, or where you've seen someone else do something like that, and you're sitting there just going, God, dude, I can tell you're not happy doing what you're doing. You're only doing it because you think that your mom or dad or whoever is going to be upset with you if you don't. You feel as if you're obligated to. So, anyway, I know it's a little bit of a longer, convoluted question. If you want to answer it, answer it. If you don't. I always appreciate the interaction, though. So if you do, feel free to leave it in the comment section down below. Feel free then to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will look forward to catching all of you in the next one, Nation. As always, thank you for watching and joining me on this journey.